Hello and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host Jarrod, and joining me tonight are John and Liam. How are you, Liam?
Good, thanks, Jarrod. Still pretty cold up here in Japan, but otherwise all good. I think we have to take a moment of quiet reflection here, because we lost a great man last week. He didn't always say the right things. Sometimes his words could be taken as offensive, but I think he meant well. So anyway, R.I.P. DMX.
X can give it to you. I was actually going to play some intro music for that, and I couldn't get it to work before. And then, John can vouch for that because we were talking about it before you joined the stream here. So, good chuckle.
That's where I was going.
And how are you, John?
I'm good. We must have had some of that Japanese weather because we've had a big cold snap in Sydney. It dropped by like 6 degrees to a resounding 19. That's pretty cold for us.
I'll take
6
that.
6 degrees here at the moment.
Yeah. Liam, you win. I thought it was bad enough when we had a day of like 13 or something on the weekend, but yeah, Liam wins, everyone. And me and John talking about like 17, 19, 13. Isn't that like warm in Scotland?
Yeah, for sure it is.
Yeah.
So, don't worry. I'm working on my tan for you guys. All right. So, we'll start off with the usual. I just want to thank every single one of you who has subscribed to the Celtic Down Under podcast. We've seen a nice little spike in our subscription numbers, so we appreciate that. If you're listening and you haven't already subscribed, please pause our podcast, go and subscribe. It'll take you 3 seconds. Come back and enjoy the rest of the show. We really would appreciate that. So, we'll start off the podcast with a little chit-chat about Celtic's game on the weekend. A big 6-0 win over Livingston. For me, I mentioned last week, it's a bit of a team that we've struggled to beat, get points against in the last few couple of seasons. I think I was listening to some video or looking at it. We've only picked up like 1-4 of our last 10 against them. So, quality 6-0 win. They're the sort of team that you don't normally pump either. Like, if you're going to beat them, it's normally 2-1 or a 3-2 or something like that. So, decent result. The way we played was looking more like it. What was your take on the game, John?
Yeah. It is. Livy's normally a team we don't really... 4 out of 10's ridiculous to beat them, but they're normally a very good setup. And I think Sean pointed out on last week's pod that Livy aren't doing particularly well just now. I don't think that takes anything away from our performance. We all felt something like this coming, or at least we were disappointed that it hadn't happened yet. I don't know. I think for a big part of the season we could see that being a team by this score wasn't going to happen anytime soon. And then I think for the past couple of weeks we've been doing, we're getting a momentum, doing better. I think some of us felt like this type of doing was coming. I was dead impressed. Again, what Forrest gives is just incredible, and I think that boy just does not get the right amount of appreciation for his role in our squad. Because the second that he comes back in, Christ Almighty, he changes the shape and he changes our attacking momentum and our focus and stuff. So. I was, again, really impressed. I did think that until the first goal, I thought we were sloppy in the first half, for the first 25, 30 minutes. I thought we looked poor. We were giving a lot of passes away. I don't think Turnbull had a great first 30 minutes or overall game probably, and Kenny's probably the same. But the second the goal went in and they just kept coming and coming, you could see after about the second or third goal, we were getting calmer, we were getting clinical. We sort of, you could see the click, the snap, and all of a sudden it's the old Celtic again, and we were just enjoying our time. So nice to see, especially going into the next game as well.
Just to use a big word here, putting Forrest out there adds a bit of dynamism to the our front three that we were missing all season. That's the word of the episode. I don't think anyone else will use the word bigger. Liam, the journalist, over to you, mate, to beat that word.
I'm not going to try and top that. No, I thought the game was a very good display. On a side note, shout out to the Celtic fans before kickoff, giving Prince Philip the old 21 gun salute from outside the stadium. You know, I felt good performance. Like John says, a wee bit rough before the first goal went in, but once it went in, I think Livingston's entire game plan was just to shut us out. And as soon as it became clear they couldn't do that, they didn't have an answer for anything else. And we just battered them. And Forrest was excellent. Turnbull came on to a good game. El Yunusi, when he turns up, he's almost unplayable. And that was one of the days where he turned up. If we can just get that guy to show some consistency, he could be our best player. I was impressed with it, and it's exactly what you need going into a game against the Huns.
On that Elanusi point you made, he's kind of reminds me of Samaras. I've seen a few people say the same thing, where you know within the first 10, 15 minutes of a game if he's going to be a guy who's just going to be unplayable, or if he's going to need to be hooked after basically the first half. So he's one of those things, and with the form he's shown lately, having scored 18 goals so far this season, Edouard potentially moving on, is it worth, making the moves to sign him? I want to know that from you guys. What do you think, John?
It depends on the price. I think anything more than probably 7.5, and it's probably not worth it. I think there's also a thing as well, depending on Celtic's form, that's the type of player you're going to get. You're going to get an inconsistent player like El Yunusi at 7.5 million, 6 million, something like that. Because that's what the market dictates, right? If we wanted a more consistent player to buy, ready-made, more consistent player, it's out of our price range, probably. So what we need to do is, El Yunusi is a good example of we kind of know what we're getting there, and under the right sort of management and coaching, he could be worth 16 to 20 million, easy. But yeah, I would take a punt if it was just the right type of money for me.
For me, I think it's going to be an issue. It's going to come down to twofold. One, what's the transfer fee? And two, what's the wages going to be like? Because the wages is going to be the killer. And if you put those two factors together, are you really going to stretch the boat out and then run the risk of upsetting the apple cart in the locker room, where having him earning a lot more than other people and then be as hit and miss as he is? I don't know whether that would be worthwhile long term.
Yeah. I read a report the other day that alleges he could be available for as little as 5 million. If that's the case, we should jump on it.
Yeah.
Because even if he is inconsistent, we'd get more than that if we sold him again in a year's time.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why we need the right type of framework in place so we can snap at things like that, and they can, instead of this long-winded transfer and managerial appointment, which we'll go on to, and just dragging it and then missing out on these type of people. We just need to fucking snap into it and get these players.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, you just touched on it, John, so we'll jump straight on into the next topic, which I put on our run sheet as discuss the latest in the Celtic Managerial Saga. I think we're into the 6th or 7th week since Lenny's gone, so Saga is an apt word to use. I'm kind of sick of the old Eddie Howe talk, if we're getting honest here. You got people like every man and their dog is having their say in the media in Scotland at the moment. You got Rod Stewart one day, you've got Frank McAvenny another day, you've got Joe Ledley coming out today. I don't think we will see any movement on the manager situation until next week, after we play the Huns on the weekend and Don Mackay's in on Monday, and then it will all ramp up from there. Being a realistic person, that's what I think is going to happen. I'd love for them to just say the day before the game, Celtic's going to play the Huns and we've signed Eddie Howe. That would be great, right? But I don't think they're going to want to tie him to Peter Lowell. They're going to want to have a clean start with whoever the new manager coming in. It's like, here's Don Mackay and this is his man and this is his director of football and off we go. That's where I think we're at the moment. But boy, this is taking forever. I'd love to hear your takes on it, guys.
Go on, Liam, you go.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I'm becoming increasingly worried that Eddie Howe is just using us as a stepping stone. I think there's a genuine concern there that he's just using Celtic to try and generate more interest so that a Crystal Palace or somebody like that will come in for him and say, look, get me before I go to Celtic. And we really don't need that, you know. I think Eddie Howe would be a good manager if he came in, but you guys know already, I'm on record, he's not my first choice. Of the people we've been linked with, he's not my first choice. But obviously I'll back him if he comes in. But
go on, Liam, who was your first choice then?
Oh well, I mean, I've said before, I prefer somebody a bit further afield, like either a Dan Petrescu or a Sergei Rebrov, or for the star quality Frank Lampard. I think they would all be more interesting than Eddie Howe to me. They're bigger box office. But you know, Howe's a very effective manager, good at what he does, and if he comes in, then fine. But I think if he really, really wanted it, it would be a done deal already. And I don't want... Whoever comes in needs to be 100% on task. And I'm not convinced Eddie Howe is, because it's taken so long to get him on board.
Yeah. I'm also growing more frustrated with the whole saga, if that's the right word. And I agree that I'm worried that Eddie Howe is using this as a way of building momentum to get a different club. Also, just a few things. I do think Eddie Howe's using, no matter what happens, if Howe comes to Celtic, he's using Celtic as a stepping stone. Exactly the same way that the Rat did, right? Whether it's that happens now or at the end of that managerial career step at Celtic, okay, that's fine. But he's using Celtic for a stepping stone for a bigger club.
Yeah.
Or a club with more money, probably is better to say. I feel that if we don't get Howe, we've got Kennedy. That's just a fact. That's the Celtic way. It's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be anybody else. I think we're putting all our eggs into one basket, and if it doesn't happen, we're getting Kennedy. That would be our manager going forward.
All right, John, if you had the choice, then sorry to jump in there. If it's going to be another one of the rumours, Roy Keane or John Kennedy, who do you go for?
Well,
because that'd be the two. If Howe doesn't come in, that'd be the two.
Yeah, no, I mean, Kennedy's probably got more going for me in the sense that he's young at the career. He's new at the managerial game. He's only been an assistant manager or coach, so he's probably got a lot to prove, and he's worked with some really good managers in his time as well. So I would go for that, because Roy Keane's track record is atrocious, right? And we all know what he's like personality wise, because he's very honest, and that's his media persona is exactly what he's like outside of the screen and stuff. So he would just be problematic. He'd be Lennon on fucking cocaine. Just a fact. So yeah, look, honestly, I don't want Keane anywhere near the club. I don't think he brings the blockbuster factor that Liam was talking about. I don't think he brings experience. So yeah, I would take a risk on Kennedy. I still reckon that Howe's. I reckon it's, you could take the media hype two ways, right? The fact that everyone's talking about it, all these pundits and journalists that are all supposedly in the know, and they're all talking about it, and they're all speculating, and they've all got their fucking 2 cents in, right? That could be a good thing. That could be pretty much it's confirmed, but informally. He is going to be the Celtic manager, but it's just not official yet. But everybody kind of knows he's taking it. Or the other way is they're wildly speculating to get audiences. But so I genuinely do think that Howe's going to be the manager. I think Jarrod's right. I think it's going to be a timing thing. It's probably going to be when Mackay comes in, or it might even be after the Huns game. But I reckon he'll be announced a week and a half, 2 weeks. Probably the best.
But off the back of what you just said there, John, all this speculation in the media, all these people and, all the bloggers, all the other podcasters ask the same. We're all talking out our asses. Let's be honest here. I'll put my hand up.
For sure.
I'm reading the same information that everyone listening to this is. I'm making an informed decision on my own, what I think is right. But what I think's right isn't going to be the same as what John thinks, what Liam thinks, what Sean thinks, what Claire thinks, what Kevin in the Singapore CSC thinks. Everyone's going to have different opinions. So for me, it's one of them where we're all talking shit, and the papers, they're all doing it because they want to sell papers, get clicks, as you said, John. They're all speculating to try and, keep the story relevant and keep their headlines and keep people engaged. So at the end of the day, every time you get an article coming out, it's just people talking shit.
There's one caveat to that, right? And this is my experience, just, growing up in England and stuff, is English pundits and English football fans in general, they don't want to be talking about Celtic ever. They don't want anything, right? It's all at arm's length stuff. So we all know the type of pundits we're talking about on like TalkSport and shit, right? They don't want to be talking about Eddie Howe's appointment at Celtic and speculating about that shit. They're getting forced to speak about that by their producers. So there's a bit of like, they don't really know much, or but the producers might know a bit more because they're in the know. Do you know what I mean? Like, there might be a bit of that. Obviously, we don't know. We're all speculating, but
It's also that they're getting nothing from the club, so they're just one person puts an article out, and then the next person reports something that they said in that article as a fact the next day or 2 days later, and then it's just spiraling. So it's funny to see. Whatever. It is what it is, I suppose. Let's throw to the journalist again, because Liam looks like he's got shit to say.
No, I'm just thinking, like, there's usually with this kind of story that's ongoing, there's a cycle to it, and you notice like different journalists will have their different take on it. But from what I've been reading for about the last 10 days, every major news source is just recycling the same 2 or 3 quotes. There's very little original investigative reporting going on into this, which tells me that on one hand, Celtic are giving the press nothing, which is good because they've given them far too much in the past. But on the other hand, it also means that the interest level, like you say in England and whatever, probably isn't there. There isn't the same zeal to try and uncover what the real story is. And that's because Scotland traditionally has been very badly underserved when it comes to journalism at a British national level. And Celtic's current situation is just one symptom of that.
100% agree with you there, Liam. Couldn't have summed it up better myself. Plus, there's something you said early on, and I was just started laughing about it, but it's like no one's telling anything, and they're not hearing anything from the club, which is good, especially after all the leaks earlier this season. Like, thank God for that. Yeah. That's what made me laugh. I'm like, yes, about effing time.
That's stopped, isn't it? That's gone almost.
Funny that.
All the mole stuff has sort of disappeared. I mean, if you were dead invested in finding out who that was, it's got to have to be someone between, then when it ended and now, sort of who's left.
It's kind of obvious, isn't it? There's how many people have left from that time? There's 2. 2 main people, in my opinion. Lenny has gone and Frimpong has gone. That's it. So
I thought it was the cleaner.
We're leaving paper in bins and stuff. Yeah, it's the way it is. What's the lunch lady's son? Anyway, it is what it is. But we'll jump into the next topic then, because you mentioned it earlier, John, about John Kennedy's performances as the interim manager. I want to get a feel of what you guys are thinking of him. Like, John, you touched on it earlier, but I want to know what you guys are thinking about him, because for me personally, I was like, you've heard all the good things about him from people like the Rat and like, Ronnie and all these people who know the game, and they talk him up like he's good, he's going to be a quality manager. And at first I was a bit iffy, but now that he's been in the chair for a month, 5 weeks, something like that, 6 weeks, and he's had times you can see players are going out there and there's a clear game plan now. People are making runs off the ball. We saw Edouard on the weekend making runs off the ball instead of coming back for it. We saw Christie doing the same, which opened up space for Kalmack to get forward. So the performance, in my opinion, on that front is looking really promising. However, this is the thing that's really got me. I thought Kennedy would have the personality of a wet fish. Like, be sitting there, 3-second memory, brain going on, like, useless. And I'm loving hearing him talk in press conferences and all that sort of stuff. Like, to me, he's really impressive. Like, the way he gave it to Jarrod and gave about, the whole COVID breaches and all that sort of stuff. And he's actually standing up for the club, but he's doing it not in a smart-assy Lennon way, but this is, you're wrong, and this is why, and this is why, and this is why. You can tell he was mentored pretty closely by Rodgers, the way he's going about it. And yeah, I'm not 100% against him getting the position if Howe doesn't, but he's probably fifth drop for me if that was the case. What do you reckon, Liam?
I still don't think he's quite ready for the Celtic job. I think he could become a very capable manager, and he's showing signs of it. I agree with what Jarrod says. I really like the way he's going after the usual suspects in his press conferences and taking no shit. And it's good because the club themselves seem quite willing to swallow all this shit, and it's good to finally have somebody in the official capacity who isn't willing to just sit back and take it. So for that, yes. But the difference between being a good ambassador for Celtic and being a good Celtic manager. Kennedy's an outstanding ambassador for Celtic. I don't think he's quite got it as a Celtic manager at the moment. I would, hopefully he goes to a smaller club and does his apprenticeship, and learns the ropes, and maybe in a few years they can come back and replace whoever the next manager is. That's a possibility. But just not quite yet.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Liam. Like, I don't want him to be a fifth option. Like, for me, it's still Howe. I'd rather Howe, David Wagner come in. What's his name? Lucien Favre. I'd rather him come in. Those would be probably my top three at the moment, because other guys like Benitez and them have ruled themselves out. Then fourth option would probably be a guy like an Enzo Maresca, because he's a big promising up-and-coming guy who has been mentored by like a Pep Guardiola and has been an assistant manager at Premier League level. And then Kennedy if all else fails. So for me, that's the way I look at it. But I'm sure everyone else has got their own different thought process, as we said earlier. So, but yeah, as you said, Liam, if he was to go elsewhere, say if he went to a St Johnstone or if he went to a Kilmarnock or something like that and spent 2, 3, 4 years there, build up a good program, he could potentially come back to us. So I wouldn't be against that in the future.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I can't disagree with anything anybody said. I think Kennedy's at the beginning, isn't he? He hasn't even taken over a first team really yet. So apart from now, I guess. But you can see in the way that you were saying before, Jarrod, that the way that he structures the team and the direction he gives players is Roger-esque. And it's really encouraging to see that now, that instead of having this old school mentality, I say old school, it's like the 90s, 2000s, whatever it was, where it was just like you had 11 players and you wanted the individuals to shine, and that was what a good team is. And now you've got this very, very rigid structure. You've got a particular way of playing, a personality of every team and stuff, and each little player has to fit into that cog. And that's good to see that Kennedy's emulated that from the time he's taken over as interim manager. But it would be such a risk to give him a full season, because we don't know how he's going to react. He hasn't had the experience, really, as being a first-team manager, to have all of the different things where, that to a lot of extent that Lennon had, and Lennon dealt with in different ways and stuff, and how Rodgers had. Kennedy's had no experience playing teams in Europe. He's only done, the sidelines and the Scottish football game and stuff. So, yeah, look, I wouldn't hate it if we did a proper due diligence and we went through all the different, proper viable options of who we want as a manager. And then if Kennedy was like, nobody wants to move anywhere because of COVID, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. He's kind of given a buy then, isn't he? He's like, but I think a team like Hibs would be perfect for Kennedy to go on to.
Don't say Hibs.
Like that.
Don't say Hibs, because then the rumours will start of Jack Ross coming to us. No, we don't want another Hibs manager. Don't do that to us. No, don't, John.
A team like Hibs. Do you know, Aberdeen would have been good for him as well,
yeah, I know.
to be fair.
Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Even a Dundee United or something like that would be good for him.
Yep.
But, yeah, something you were saying there, but if, say, if no one came and he got the role, fine. But you said he hasn't had any of the big games, so the next 5 games that we've got guaranteed are going to be big games for him. You've got Aberdeen, you've got 2 games against the Huns. Now, once we get through, you've got a Hibs game in there as well. So there's 4 of the 5 games. I can't remember who the other team is in the top there. So realistically, like
St Johnson's top 6, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. See, I can't even remember. Let's be honest here. But those games, if we go against the 2 games against the Huns, and we put in the same performance that we had against Livy, play well, get lots of shots, we're looking like a team, and we win at least one of them and draw the other, and then we go and absolutely slaughter Aberdeen and Hibs, that's going to put a lot of, positivity over his name again, and it's going to help him grow his brand again. But, yeah, realistically, 5th drop for me.
I'd say that's about right. I'm probably there as well.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair shout.
Speaking of fair shouts, Liam, I'll use that as the thing here. And we just touched on him about John Kennedy giving shit to Jarrod about the whole Sevco 5. Now, it took how many days was it? 60-something days for him to get charged?
61. So.
And then, they appealed it because, their captain's out, Tavernier's out, their backup right back is Patterson, who copped a ban, and suddenly they've appealed it, and so it's not getting done until next week, so he can play in the derby on the weekend. Now, I want to know your take on what's happened here, quickly. I don't want to touch on it too much, but if the shoe was on the other foot, and this was Celtic player, okay, and say Kieran Tierney was still at the club, okay, and he got ruled out, and we had a promising young left back behind him, would you, or right back, or whichever position we want to talk about, if the same situation happened to us, would you be happy if Celtic was to appeal it just so they could have someone play the game when they've clearly done the wrong thing? I'll throw to you first, John, because I want to let Liam stew on this a little longer.
Well, yeah, of course I'd be. That's what I want Celtic to do. But because they did it, they can fuck off. They're scum. That's like that. I could be really fair and say that, the way that we got our players banned was at the beginning of the global pandemic, and arguably theirs is at the end. So, but yeah, I'm not going to be. It just shows complete and utter nepotism, to be honest, from the SFA and them. I hope he scores 5 own goals when we play them, and that'd be just justice. That'd be vindication. Yeah, I think it's interesting that you also brought up Tierney as well, because when we had Ryan Christie banned, that was because of the Tierney and Armstrong involvement in the Scotland squad. So I think it's one rule for them and a different for us. It highlights a failure in the process. As much as I joke that I would want Celtic to do this exact same thing, it highlights that there's a failure in the process, and it should be that these decisions and appeals should be happening much, much quicker. The fact that I work with government agencies and I can get a turnaround answer in 48 hours, I think a fucking Scottish agency or a Scottish association can do the same. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't take that much effort. Can do it on Zoom. Do you know what I mean?
All I want to say, John, is you mentioned Tierney there. I'll say that was some magical hosting there when I completely fluked that. So, and before I throw it to you, Liam, I just want to say, rant incoming. Go.
No, look, we've known from day one of this season that every stroke was going to be pulled, every favour was going to be called in, every dodgy handshake would be shook to make sure that Rangers won the league this year. And so it's panned out that way. And this is just the latest in a long line of quite blatant favouritism, nepotism, corruption. It's really, the sad thing is, none of us are even that surprised by it. We all expected it. We all knew it was going to happen, and it's happened. As soon as they were cited, we said, oh, they'll get a slap in the wrist, or they'll get away with it. And we're at a point now where, more than 2 months later, they haven't even been convicted yet. And really, I'm actually more annoyed at Celtic for just taking this, because we knew it was going to happen. We know the Huns are always going to be that way, because in their mind, what they want, they get, and it's that simple. That's how they view the world. But for Celtic to just not even challenge it is really quite disgusting. We should have been demanding that this was resolved before the cup game. And I really think that, I hope when our new chief exec comes in, we can return to the days of Fergus McCann when we took no shite. And we said, look, this is not on. It's not going to happen. I think we need to get back to that.
100%. Give him a good kicking in the dick. That's all I have to say. They need to know his boss, who runs Scottish football.
Yeah.
We do. Here's one, right? Just came to me there. Do you think it's a sign that they're a little bit fearful of the game? The fact that they had to appeal to get their, second string right back involved.
Absolutely they are. Absolutely they are.
Couldn't change their formation. They couldn't,
Have a look at it.
They've it already.
Have a look. They've dominated us in the first game and only beat us 1-0 or 2-0 or whatever it was. The last two have been 1-0 each. And we've had more shots on target, more possession, and we've missed wide open shots in both goals in both games. Realistically, come on now, they're there to be taken. I'm being honest with you. With what I saw on the weekend against Livy, for the first time this season, I'm actually going into a derby thinking we can sculpt these fuckers.
Yeah. They have not convincingly went out and pumped somebody for about 3 months. The last time I saw Rangers go out and convincingly beat somebody was about 2 or 3 months ago. They've been staggering for a while now, and they're just lucky that no one's actually managed to catch them out yet. They're long overdue a doing from somebody.
And it's going to be us on Sunday. Here we go.
Here we fucking go.
So with that, we'll roll it into our preview of the game on the weekend. So, Liam, we'll start with you. What do you think we're going to see, and what do you think the starting lineup will be for the game?
Now, do we know exactly when the kickoff time's going to be yet? Has that been confirmed?
Yeah, it's midnight Sunday, our time, which is midday, I think, or 3 p.m. That's right, 3 p.m. Sunday.
No, it's 3 p.m. Yeah.
Right, 3 p.m. Sunday. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think that's a bit stupid, because I don't remember the Queen or Prince Philip rescheduling anything when Rangers died,
Hey.
But no, I think, starting lineup, I think we should just go with the team we played last weekend if possible. If everybody's fit, then just go for it, because that team looked good. And how can you really justify dropping anybody from a team that's just went out and won 6-0? Really. One of Celtic's biggest problems all season for me has been that we haven't had a settled starting 11. And if we've got a team that's just taken 6 off of somebody, let's stick with that. Because this is a game we want to go out to try. It's a cup tie. We want to go out to try and win it. We don't want to play for a draw or do a damage limitation. We want to go out and beat this mob and beat them well. And I think we should just go with exactly the same team.
What do you reckon, John?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we should go with the exact same team. I don't think we will go with the exact same team, though. I think there's two positions. One, I think's... Well, no, both of them 50-50 changes. I think Laxalt might start. And I think Turnbull might get dropped and Christie might start. And I don't think they should, by the way. But I think that is what will happen. Because I think what Turnbull brings on a good day when he's up for it is fucking world class, and he won't be at Celtic for ages. And I don't understand. Taylor doesn't do much wrong, and he brings a lot, both going forward and defending. So, yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if those two started in front of the other two. But I agree. It should be the exact same team. Momentum.
Yep, agree as well.
Yep.
We'll call it like a hat trick right here. All agree on that we should be same lineup out there, let the guys loose and just man for man we're better. And any of you Huns listening in who, like to listen in onto our show for shits and giggles purposes, you're gonna lose. And yeah, if you don't, give us pelters on Twitter. I'll tell you to fuck off. You're gonna lose. Just deal. Same lineup. We're gonna pump yous 4-0. Get it up yous. Morelos red card. Boom. Their first one of the season. Happy days.
That'd be class.
Now, as our last thing.
I think it's, well, just to ask, so will Rangers fans even be watching the game? Won't they all still be masturbating over the funeral from the day before?
Oh god!
I mean, come on, Sorry.
Gross.
Jeez. I've got plenty of comments here, Liam, but there's an explicit setting, and then there's getting kicked off like podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, getting booted, and
disowned from your family, and
it's restraint right now. Is stopping this, but yeah. Anywho, so while we're having a laugh, it's perfect because I put on the last topic for us was for a laugh. Let's all do a Lenny and state our left field selection for the game. So for me, I'll start off with that because you know how we'd always go, just throw some weird thing like, Kelmack at left back or whatever. For me, because Forrest is injured and he's a bit iffy for the game. If I was doing a Lenny, Karamoko right wing. Over to you, John.
I don't know if I'd hate that much.
Imagine if he come on and scalped him with a hat trick.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, right? I think I thought two things. I think if it was going to be one of those left field decisions, it'd either be El Yunusi up front. I don't know how that would work. Or Edouard gets dropped and it's Griffiths up front. Someone who's not started in ages. And I think that would probably be the...
That's probably it because Lenny and Griff are like that.
Yeah.
And over to you, Liam. You got a nice smirk. I can only imagine what this is going to be.
I'd like to start Barkas in goal just for the pleasure of seeing a Greek immigrant who actually pays his taxes.
Wouldn't it be more like Barkas has always wanted to be a midfielder, so he's sticking in attacking mid?
Just play Bruni in goals. Why not? For
Bruni in goals, yeah.
Every time he saves, it just does the Bruni. Yep, perfect. There you go. Something stupid. Good fun. So you boys got anything else you want to bring up before we wrap up the podcast?
I guess the only thing we could say is that I think everyone knows that on social media there's been a few Lennon videos, and we decided we weren't going to bring it up as a topic. So we just want to pass on to Lennon and anyone who knows him that we here all support him.
How?
Absolutely. Hail.
In Neil Lennon we trust, or whatever it is. But yeah, all I'm going to say off the back of that as well is you got all these people commenting saying it's mental health related, it's alcohol, whatever. For me, who hasn't been off their ass completely blind in their lifetime? Like, every single one of you isn't perfect, so give the man a break. That's all I have to say, and love you, Lenny, and everything you've done for the club. So fuck all the haters.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think after all he's been through in the last year or so, if anyone's entitled to go out and get pissed, it's Neil Lennon.
Absolutely.
So, aye. And also, a sincere fuck you to the ghoul who fucking filmed it and put it online. Give the man some privacy, for God's sake, you know?
Absolutely. Yep. So I think we're all on the same page here. So, yeah, we'll leave that topic there. Looking forward to the game on the weekend. Gonna, I don't know, a few beers. You know, it's going to be a dusty Monday, I reckon, work-wise, because the game won't be over till 2:30, whatever, but our time. But who cares? Fuck it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's get the win. Put them back in their box, and yeah, we'll just quickly finish off by, if you're on Facebook, please like our Facebook page, Celtic Down Under, and join our group. Instagram and Twitter, you can find us at Celtic Down. Website is www.celticdownunder.com. Liam might have an article on there next week or in the next couple of days leading into the derby. Who knows?
Yeah, I think I will, yep.
And I knew that would be coming. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. We'll share it all around. But, yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you subscribe. And, yeah, into these bastards on Sunday. How?
Yes. Hell.
Hello.